Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American horror film from 2012, titled Playback. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. On October 21, 1994, Harlan Deal murdered his family at their farmhouse, and he was shot by the police as he killed his sister. The tragedy left behind video footage that he had taped in his sister's baby, who survived. 15 years later in Marshall, Michigan, an ambitious high school student named Julian Miller received a film assignment for his journalism class. The task was to explore forgotten local stories, and despite his mother and Miller being a police officer who advised against it, Julian chose the Harlan Deal case. He enlisted his girlfriend Riley, borrowed camera equipment and archive footage from his former co-worker Quinn, who now worked as a news station cataloger. Julian also recruited his friends Dee, Nate, and Brianna to reenact the murder scene, aiming to produce a gory slasher movie. One day, Quinn arrives at the school to collect the camera equipments Julian borrowed for shooting their slasher movie. While loading the equipments into Quinn's van, Julian mentions Brianna's upcoming birthday party, which she plans to celebrate at her parents' house while they're away. Julian suggests Quinn should come, to which Quinn replies that he will think about it before leaving. Arriving at where he works, Quinn goes to the basement where the filming equipments are kept, and watch a footage from a spy camera he installed in the school's girls' locker room to privately film teenage girls. It turns out that Quinn is being paid by perverted police officer Frank Lyons to get a footage of Dee Baker because he likes her. Later, Quinn watches footage showing the aftermath of the tragedy, including Harlan being taken away after being shot. Harlan, though still alive, awakens as the video switches back and forth, ultimately resulting in Quinn's body being spiritually possessed through the transmission of the video playback. After being possessed, Quinn meets Frank in a discreet area, and hands him the flash drive containing the video of Dee. Meanwhile, at Brianna's house, her birthday party kicks off with her friends and schoolmates celebrating. She receives lavish birthday presents, including a vibrator from her boyfriend, Nate. Later, as the group suggests titles for their new slasher movie, Quinn arrives at the party with a gift for Brianna. He gives it to her, and Brianna thanks him, before leaving. Quinn then excuses himself and secretly enters Dee's room, where he inserts a spy camera into a teddy bear. Outside, he encounters Julian and hands him a flash drive containing footage of Harlan Deal's murder, as Julian had requested earlier, and Quinn leaves the party. The next morning, Riley is in her room applying cosmetics when she glimpses a figure in her mirror, prompting her to investigate but finds nobody. Continuing her routine, she is suddenly attacked, and runs to the front door, only to find it locked. She is then stabbed in the abdomen. It turns out to be part of the movie the group had recently filmed. At Quinn's workplace, a co-worker heads to the basement to find Quinn but discovers the place in mess. Suddenly, Quinn startles him from behind, and as the co-worker complains about the mess, Quinn attacks him with a string before committing a shocking act. Meanwhile, Julian and Riley discovered that Harlan, whose parents died when he was 4, moved between foster homes until being adopted by the Deal family. They learn he's a descendant of Louis LePrince, the cinematography inventor. To gather footage, they locate the Deal house, and discover a hidden family secret, a baby omitted from the reports. Their research is interrupted by Anne, Julian's mother, who tracks his cell phone to locate them. She reveals that the Deal family's tragedy is a dark part of the town's history best left forgotten, and urged Julian to choose a different project before they leave. Meanwhile, Quinn arrives at the Deal house and decides to enter. At school, Julian realizes he left his phone there, and calls it using Riley's phone, only for Quinn to answer. Julian asks Quinn about his whereabouts and Quinn replies, "Home." Later, Julian and Riley arrive at Quinn's house, where they find Quinn's decomposing body. He hands Julian the phone, and they leave. At work, Julian asks his disabled co-worker, Wiley, about Louis LePrince. Wiley reveals an ancient legend. Louis LePrince, believed to be the devil, invented a way to steal souls by filming them. In the story, he takes the soul of his son, Adolphe, replacing it with his own demonic spirit in the film Roundhay Garden scene. This evil spirit possesses each child in the bloodline, from generation to generation, which explains the Deal family tragedy. Meanwhile, Quinn returns to the Deal house and discovers equipment in the basement. At home, Brianna prepares for a trip, unaware Quinn is watching her through a spy camera hidden in her room. She receives a call from Quinn, who prompts her to look at the camera, and she located, which was hidden in the gift that Quinn gave her at her birthday. As Brianna views the camera, she becomes possessed after Quinn touches the screen. In the evening, Nate arrives at Brianna's house to pick her up for their trip. Inside, he sees Brianna looking eerie and passes him without a word. As they set off, Nate tries to engage her in conversation, but Brianna remains silent. Suddenly, she coughs up black blood, causing Nate to stop the car. When he asks what's wrong, Brianna punches him in the nose, and then stabs him with a cassette before slamming his head onto the steering wheel multiple times, ending his life. The next morning, Frank is tasked by Officer and to investigate Nate's disappearance. He goes to Julian's school and interrogates Dee Dee about Nate's whereabouts in his car. Dee Dee tells Frank that Nate went to a Shiny Toy Guns concert with her sister, Brianna, and after the interrogation, Frank leaves the school. On his way, he calls Quinn, who has just finished killing Brianna, demanding more tapes of Dee Dee. Quinn refuses, insisting on his demands being met first, and Frank agrees to try. It's revealed that Quinn visited Frank at his home the previous night, asking for the videotape of Harlan Deal, which is at the police station, but Frank refused. As Dee Dee was getting off from the bed, Quinn, now pale, was watching her through the camera he embedded at her toy. While trying on a jewelry, Dee Dee found the secret camera and she became possessed. Meanwhile, Julian, eager to know what happened to the baby at the Deal family, locates and asks a retired newscaster, Chris Safford, about the Deal case. He learns Harlan raped his adoptive sister and together they conceived a baby. Their parents planned to put the baby up for adoption in order to cover up the incident, but Harlan objected and killed them. Afterward, the baby was adopted by Julian's police officer mother, and, meaning that Julian is Harlan's child. At home, Frank watches a video footage of a woman in a dressing room when the doorbell rings. He answers to find the possessed Dee Dee, standing in front of his door, dressed in red. Inviting her in, Dee Dee claims she's here because of her missing sister, and begins looking around, as if she lost something. She then discloses that Quinn told her Frank used to watch her in the locker room and paid Quinn for it, but Frank denies it, branding Quinn as a pathetic psychopathic criminal. However, Dee Dee confesses she likes it and doesn't mind if Frank watches her. As Dee Dee seduces Frank, they are interrupted by a call from Quinn, who insists on speaking with Frank. He reveals he now controls Dee Dee and orders her to leave, but Frank pleads with Quinn to instruct Dee Dee to stay, and reveals he has obtained the tape he asked for, unaware that Quinn is already at his home. While Frank is convincing Dee Dee to stay, Quinn enters into the room from behind, grabs his gun, and as Frank turns around, Quinn blows his head off, splattering blood on Dee Dee's body. Quinn secures the Harlan Deal tape, and shoots Dee Dee before leaving. Meanwhile, Quinn arrives at Julian's school and finds Riley alone. He informs Riley that Julian instructed him to keep the equipments for their next movie with her, which Riley finds suspicious. At the back of the van, Quinn tricks Riley into entering to help with the equipments, but then locks the door, and renders her unconscious. Meanwhile, Julian heads home to confront his mom after uncovering the truth about the missing baby. At the same time, Quinn learns about the baby by watching police-owned footage showing and taking the baby. Inside the house, Julian searches for his mom but only finds a picture of the baby and Anne, and when he goes outside, he spots Quinn's van. Calling out Quinn's name, he realizes Quinn isn't in the driver's seat. A noise from the van grabs his attention, and upon opening it, he discovers Riley tied up with duct tape over her mouth, before Quinn appears behind him and subdues him. Julian wakes up in the Deal home, tied to a chair with a camera in front of him, while Riley is tied up in the basement where Quinn watches Julian through a TV screen. Meanwhile, Anne returns home and notices the cracked picture frame, sensing something is wrong. She calls Julian's cell phone, but Quinn answers instead, revealing that Julian now knows the truth. Anne insists on speaking to Julian, but Quinn ends the call. As the days passed, Julian attempted to free himself but couldn't find a way. Suddenly, Quinn approached the screen and referred to Julian as "my son," leaving Riley shocked, and before Quinn could possess Julian, the electricity went out. Quinn went upstairs from the basement to fix the issue, giving Riley time to free herself from the restraints and rescue Julian from the other room, and as they fled, they stumbled across Nate's dead body in his car. Upon Quinn's return, he discovered their escape, which made him angry. He grabbed a camera and a gun, then began to chase them while recording. Julian and Riley hid in a cornfield, hoping Quinn wouldn't find them. However, Quinn arrived at the cornfield but couldn't see anyone, although Julian and Riley could see him. Suddenly, they heard Anne's voice calling out to them, and Julian attempted to leave, but Riley stopped him. Quinn decided to leave them and go after Anne. After realizing Quinn wasn't there, Julian and Riley left the cornfield to search for Anne. Unbeknownst to Anne, Quinn was secretly watching her with a camera. Julian located Anne and warned her that Quinn had a gun, but before he could finish, Anne was shot. As Julian rushed to her aid, he was attacked by Quinn, and the two engaged in a furious fight, but Quinn overpowered him. Riley intervened, hitting Quinn with his camera, but Quinn retaliated. Julian attacked him from behind, but Quinn knocked him down. Standing over Julian, Quinn prepared to film and possess him when the injured Anne, wearing armor, shot him down. Julian and Riley went to the injured Anne, without noticing that Quinn was not yet dead and was recording himself with his phone. The next day, Anne was hospitalized, and Julian and Riley saw the police report about the recent murders. Shortly after, Riley heads outside to get something for them to eat, and Julian received a video message where he saw Quinn's corpse and become possessed. Okay guys, that's all the recap about Playback from 2012. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.